you should understand the correlation coefficient. This is the number that quantifies the relationship between variables. A correlation coefficient can range in value between -1 and +1. The sign of the correlation, negative or positive, represents the direction of the relationship. When we have a positive correlation, this means that as one variable increases, the other variable increases. A negative sign in a correlation signifies that as one variable increases, the other variable decreases. We can also look at the absolute value of the correlation, how close it is to a value of 1. This represents the strength of the correlation or the predictive power of the correlation. Small correlations that have generally weak predictive power are correlations that are less than an absolute value of 0.3. Moderate correlations have an absolute value that ranges between 0.3 and 0.6. Strong correlations, those with very strong predictive power, are correlations that are greater than 0.6. Just because we have a correlation that is small, it does not mean that it is not significant. When we talk about statistical significance, this has to do not just with the size of the correlation, but also with the sample size, how many observations this correlation is based on. It also, a small correlation doesn't mean that it's not an important correlation. We have to look at the variables that we're trying to predict. If we're talking about serious accidents in an organization that might have consequences for people's health and large financial consequences for organizations, we probably want to pay attention to even small correlations as long as they are statistically significant. Now here I've got an example of a positive correlation for you. This correlation represents the relationship between job satisfaction and job performance. So we've got job satisfaction along the horizontal axis, and this is paired up with job performance on the vertical axis. So you can see that when people have low job satisfaction, they tend to have lower job performance. And when people have higher job satisfaction, they tend to have higher job performance. Again, we can't conclude from this evidence alone that there's a causal relationship between job satisfaction and job performance. We can't say that a happy worker is a productive worker. It could be that a productive worker is a happy worker, or it could be that there is some other variable, a third variable, that causes both of these variables to be related. It might be that having goals that are aligned with the organization's goals is very satisfying and leads to better job performance. And so it could be that a third variable causes this positive relationship. Now next we can see a negative correlation. Here on the horizontal axis we've got the variable for organizational commitment, how much you identify with the organization as a person. And on the vertical axis we've got a person's intention to search for another job. And we can see that this represents a negative correlation. As one variable goes up, as organizational commitment goes up, the other variable goes down. Job search intentions go down as organizational commitment goes up. This is not just a correlation that differs in terms of its direction, it also differs in terms of its strength. This is a stronger correlation than the correlation we looked at on the last slide. And you can see that the cluster of data points on the scatter plot are more tightly grouped together, and the linear trend, the line that is the trend here, is more clearly decipherable, and therefore it has a stronger correlation, it has more predictive power.